I was in my room going to sleep, left hand with my phone, and crying on Twitter, just scrolling through. I saw an FL Studio tweet right here. You can see it right here. FL Studio, we've been experimenting with a unique touch screen. What would you use it for? You heard that word? Touch screen? Does it sound familiar? Huh? Let me remind you that I made a video about a certain keyboard from a certain brand that kind of threw a little bit of shade. I see you. But guess what? I got a keyboard here too, buddy, and it doesn't require your mouse or whatever. It doesn't require your keyboard, okay, buddy? Okay, buddy, you ain't that special. Look, you ain't it. I'm pretty sure I could script this to do whatever your shit does too. The only Novation product I got is the Launchpad. You know, I wish I could get the Novation base station. I love that thing. Software though. You can see in this video where I flamed the FL Key 37. A device for the playlist, and you know, it's just a display screen, of course, but have some sort of DLC function where some extra shit will happen when you click on things like, let's say, the automation. You want to make points of okay, let me just skim through a little bit. You're gonna see nutsack. Of course it said nutsack, but you can see that I was showing in the end of that video something along the lines of using a touch screen function with the playlist to be able to use FL Studio more hands-free rather than using a little 37 key keyboard as a product. I don't know. I forgot what I was gonna say at the end there, but I had this idea. Maybe they thought about it, and maybe this is why they're thinking about it. Although I don't want to be self-centered and think this. Of course, maybe they already had this in plans all along, and I'm just a little scapegoat that thinks a little too far ahead. Nevertheless, let's take a look at what we're looking at here. And this is, of course, a experimenting thing, so it's not a future product per se. It kind of looks like a mount rack, a rack mount right here. By the way, I do mastering. Hit your boy up at JustinOmoi.com if you want to get your song mastered. But what it seems to be is a certain size. Of course, obviously, it look like 2 or 3 of these iPhones put together, but it looks like it's doing a certain range on the screen. So if you could see the computer here, hopefully, maybe like a range like this or something, and it's fixed on a certain position on the monitor where, you know, they'll just drag the, like you see here, for example, the mixer, kind of just drag it in that range and stretch it out to that range so they could touch there specifically. They did the same thing with the touch keyboard as well as the touch drum pads. Yeah, interesting. They're trying it, right? Which makes me question, are they trying to develop this themselves? Because I mean, that'll be interesting. I don't know how well it'll be for them to develop it themselves, but my thought is if they do develop something themselves regarding a touchscreen, they're gonna have to put in their own coding or their own like little program inside of it. So that's some interesting stuff to think about there. But they are asking, what would you use it for? And honestly, the answers or the responses, not all that. The mixer, my rack of soundgoodizers, har, probably for mixing and recording guitar. How? Parametric EQ2 with a touchscreen would be fun. Yes, like the big old titties right here. Mixer, FL key performance mode. Nothing really. They didn't really give us some unique or nice answers. The only thing I could think about when it comes to a screen of this size, and it's not really going to be what you were expecting, but the transport tools is probably the only thing I could think of when it comes to a touchscreen type of situation with something that looks like a bar like this. Okay, a big old touchscreen transportation tools where you literally look, this is all the transportations here. This keyboard, it's just a small square, but that's really all I see. Transportation tools, I don't know, the Big Ben clock, you can put a little clock there, maybe some visualizers, but those things don't really need a touchscreen now, do they? Unless you touch and then they change into like a vector scope, oscilloscope, all types of scopes, a radar, loudness. Oh, maybe y'all could think about a loudness plugin in TruePeak, K-metering, VU meter, whatever. Oh, there is also a performance mode. Maybe just like you have these pads here, you could kind of do like a little hotkey link up for I don't know, shortcut keys too, but for playing the certain patterns in performance mode. That's really all I could see with a rectangle touchscreen. Not to mention the corners are kind of beveled in like an old screen TV, so it is stealing some of that screen spot. So yeah, that's the right way to say it, screen spot. If they really want to work with that touchscreen function regarding FL Studio, there is not a lot of things in a rectangular format that will look nice with FL Studio. The only things rectangular is obviously the mixer. That's it. But even with the mixer, you have to click and select effects, and that's more than a rectangle at that point. What I believe that they should do is either work with Wacom, like I said before, or create their own GUI format, like I said in the same video, a DLC type of thing where it is a playlist. It's a square, obviously big square, or if you want a rectangle, just to make it look even prettier. Not that kind of rectangle. I'm talking about a monitor screen, 27 inches diagonal type of rectangle, where you do have free hands on regarding the playlist. However, it functions, well, more touchscreen related and not an exact one-to-one clone like you would see here with this playlist or this image they're showing here. It'll be more like, oh, you got certain extra functions because you have the touchscreens. You could click on one, hold on, let me face y'all, my bad. But you could click one pattern in the touch screen on the window. Maybe there's a little section for the patterns and you could swipe up and down and scroll, but you could touch the pattern to be able to preview the pattern right there and then you could just click and drag it right into the playlist, and it will automatically perhaps rename the whole track right there so it can lock to that content maybe. Or you could just drag and drop it freely like how we've been doing it. But not only just drag and drop for patterns, because obviously that'll be boring, but a way to create automation too. If you tap on it, create an automation clip from I don't know, you link perhaps a master fader or something like that. You could do it that way and then be able to just create the points right there on the touch screen for those who don't have automatic faders like this to get that smooth, buttery smooth recording. But yeah, like I said, touch, create points, delete points easily, nicely with your own free of access fingers. Perhaps you want to change the way the curve is, the tension, you touch in that tension knob instead of using your pesky mouse, and up and down, you get the right curves and stuff. This will be beautiful, especially with the inclusion of all those beautiful graphics they showed in the new FL Studio 21 that's gonna come regarding like live change feed of the voice, the waveform. When you lower down the gain, you see the waveforms gain lower down. That is sick. Also the transitions, or not transition, the automatic crossfade. When you take your finger, you touch that pattern, or even the voice clip, and you just drag it over and it does that little fade. That'll be so tight. Maybe there's two touch ways. You could touch to be able to do a slice. That would be cool. But anything to make it more interactive and fun rather than making it feel like you're just emulating the touch screen on the monitor, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to make this a dedicated hardware additional add-on to be able to use the playlist with more fun. I think that's really the best way to say it. Can you imagine touching the color wheel and dragging for your precise color to be able to rename a sound, rename a track? And hell, it doesn't even have to be just a playlist. Maybe you implement the piano roll, the channel rack, everything into it. Make it a whole dedicated FL Studio in a touchscreen, you know, monitor. Not saying its own device like the MPCX or something. But that is what I think, or I feel, would be a nice inclusion with FL Studio regarding hardware and being unique, I guess. The rectangle is cool and all, but what do you have, huh? Could you put FL Chan on there and just start dancing or something? I really don't see much uses with the rectangular screen like that. Unless, of course, you guys make something that's unique to FL Studio, like a new, you can only use it with hardware type of program plugin. But yeah, I'll leave that to you guys and girls in the comment section below. I am interested to hearing, what would you use a rectangular shaped touchscreen with? And I gotta go to sleep. It's 6 minutes to 12. I want to sleep. So yes, thank you guys and girls for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that comment section below, and yeah, I'll see y'all later. Peace. I'm out. And please have yourselves a damn good one.